So I want to share with you the phenomena of psychic projection. Now, projection is a term used a lot throughout the conscious community and between empaths and psychics alike. And the term is also misunderstood and misused and sometimes even just like understated in terms of how it actually affects our reality. And it's a very actually profound natural phenomena that happens around consciousness. And in the simplest sense, is a projection is when someone holds a judgment in the field. And that judgment can be held internal, but it can also be vocalized and acted out physically. Now, when it couples into physical reality outside just the mind, it gains a lot more power. And so when a projection is made and judgment onto another person, depending on the level of chi in which they're circulating between each other, there's a lot of things that can state that condition, is it can lead to that person's reality then taking on, receiving that energy, receiving that projection, and then starting to animate it in the body. Such as, the projection being, oh, he's such a klutz. And then the person receives that projection, and then they start animating it. They start tripping and falling on the floor, and that might not be something they usually do. And sometimes it is something they usually do, but now you're also amplifying that behavior. You're starting to root that behavior in that person, making it hard for them to get out. Happens all throughout our society. I mean by like the amount of chi circulating with someone is, if you're, say, they're your lover, you're circulating a tremendous amount of chi. They have a very large effect on your reality in terms of how that projection can affect you. If you're in the same room, vicinity, locality, you're usually circulating more chi with the individual and thus having more of an effect. It can happen through a phone call, a text message, an email, reading a post on a social network. The energies can move from one person to another. It can also be projected into a space. And so when it's in a space, because it's sort of circulating in the space and not necessarily anyone specific, there's always a pathway within one's consciousness in which how that energy can get in, and it can start to then animate in that person. And so a projection can also become almost a viral sensation with among a group of people. It can also be projected on a specific group of people as well. It's all about how does the energy circulate and align, resonate with that individual to then get into their field. And that's where also in this process you learn to see which pathways in your consciousness that energy is getting in. You learn to shut them down so you're no longer actively participating. There's also ways of holding boundaries to that energy if you have not shut down that pathway and not participating in it. It's more of a forceful way. It's not an ideal, but you can hold a boundary to it. That's a dynamic metaphysical process to describe, but it's taking a sovereign stance of I am not participating in this dynamic, essentially. And there's many ways to engage your actual awareness around that. It's essentially like, when you're saying muscle memory, you're working a specific muscle with, like you go skiing again, it makes sense. You can work it. You can do this with your psychic awareness. There's many muscles you can learn and how to operate those again and again. And so where this projection steps into a higher realm of dark magic, okay, is when it trinitizes. And so when 3 or more individuals come into complete alignment on this projection, on this judgment, and especially when they're speaking it among themselves and bringing it into this physical reality, and the more their intent, mutual intent, is aligned between the 3 of each other, the trinitization effect, which is a whole conversation of itself, creating essentially a tripod, it stabilizes the energy into the fractal framework. You need 3 aspects to create a fractal interface, essentially. You can shift whole timelines. And so I've watched this happen in which a trinitized projection within a space at an event shifts the whole party. And those who are very adept with subtle awareness feel it. And I've also experienced many of these adept individuals not understand what's going on, but saying this is not cool. This is really not cool. those guys over there, those guys, I don't know what's going on, but they're playing with dark magic. And there's that's why I'm even speaking about this, is because there's a lot of individuals who I have seen witness this type of psychic phenomena and have stories and experiences about it. But at the same time, they haven't had the full language or understanding of the mechanics of what's going on. And so the trandized projection is very powerful. It can also be very dangerous in terms of how it shifts realities, and that you can project, a judgment onto a group of people and watch it sweep the space. It can happen with one person, it's a lot harder. Three provides stability. This is what happens also in cult mentalities, especially when one individual is able to lead the group in terms of that judgment to then project it onto a group of people. And so, and the balance point with this is how you can trantize around manifestation. And this is what I actually see less of, is when three individuals completely align, where there's no egoic agenda, but they actually completely align with the divine, a manifestation. And it's like also being in receivership of that manifestation. It's not coming from force, it's not coming from ego. And when that trantizes, how that shifts timelines. But it's bringing that timeline into a more balanced pathway with creation. And so that covers the gist of this phenomena. Feel free to ask questions, and I will do my best to answer them. And I hope this helps everyone navigate their reality a little bit better, because whenever you do feel yourself being affected by a projection, which can literally create false wounding in you, but sometimes there's still a hint of that wounding there, is how is this energy getting into your reality? How is it affecting you? Where is the back door? Where is the gateway? Where is the construct of separation within your being? How are you choosing to separate yourself from the totality of creation? And this is a whole conversation itself as well, and I'm going to do my best to share more and piece by piece, and your questions and feedback will ultimately help guide that way in terms of how to relay my own story, my own experience, and how I've been navigating my world and my perception and living, with, empathic sight. And thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful, blessed day.